this thing is lying to you. Today I will show you 3 of the most common stance mistakes when it comes to the surf skate. By the end of this video you will know all 3 mistakes, how to spot them in your own skating, and of course how to fix them. All of them might feel right for various reasons, especially when you're starting out, but none of these actually translate into good skill progression. And if you care about that at all, none of these translate into actual surfing in the ocean on your surfboard. So let's fix them. Quick thing on surf skate design before we get into it. A surf skate is designed to turn easily. The front truck is hyper responsive, but that responsiveness is also the problem, because every time the board does what you ask it to do, even when you're asking in the wrong way, is reinforcing that bad habit. Which takes me straight into mistake number 1. Okay, mistake number 1 is placing your front foot way too far above the truck. You can actually make the board turn quite easily, and even if you see him just wiggling a bit, that bad wiggle, starting to roll out of frame and building speed. But the problem with that is twofold. First of all, that wiggle is nothing that you really want to do. And second, of course, standing this far front is nice and responsive, but it also might feel unstable. Plus, in the ocean, if you care about that at all, this stance will just make your rail bog or even make you nosedive. So where do you want your front foot instead? Well, you want your front foot exactly right behind the balls. Also slightly angled forward. With the front foot behind the balls, this will also give you a way more stable stance overall. Mistake number 2 that's super common and you see all of the time, especially in more flexible people, is the back foot angle towards the back, which also makes your knee angle towards the back. So why do people stand like this? When most people, I guess, get on a surf skate and stand in a neutral stance, both feet angled outward, like they would stand on a snowboard. And it makes sense because it gives you this nice, at least in the sideways plane, it gives you a nice stable stance, feels safe. But the problem is in your knee. It's turning that way, which makes it really hard and actually limits the amount of rotation you can have. See, I'm almost falling. You can have towards your back side. And also, if you are flexible enough in your hip and you can actually still make that turn, it's putting a lot of stress on your knee. Your knee isn't designed for rotating. And if you want to skate and surf for a while, that's something that you definitely don't want to mess with. So instead, you want your back foot to be slightly pointed forwards as well, slightly angled, which in turn makes your knee twist inside. You can square up your shoulders, have a nice and stable front-on stance. From this position, I can sit down here and turn so much further towards my backside. Obviously, I can turn front side as well. And this way, it massively limits the stress on your knee. So with that bad back foot and knee, it's really hard to turn towards my backside. And I can really feel that I basically have to accomplish this by stepping on the front trucks and basically almost never make that turn. Really have to step here to make the board turn because I'm limiting my rotation from where the turn should actually happen. So what should it look like? Knee nice turned inside, and I can get into this rotation and get it done easily. As you can see, I'm coming out of that turn with a lot of weight on my front foot, as to where I can even lift the nose up. Coming out of that turn with all of the weight on my front foot, so I can even lift the nose up and have that little slide towards the end. Which ultimately, I guess, is what we all want. And finally, mistake number 3. This mistake is so common that you see it in surf skaters all the way up onto the upper intermediate level because it feels so safe. For some reason, a lot of people, when they start out surf skating, that hinge in the hip like this. And I don't want to call it poo stance or whatever, because I understand where it's coming from. If you stand like this, you are way closer to the floor, which makes you feel safe. A fall now wouldn't be that hard. And especially if you haven't filmed yourself yet, like we said, it can be a humbling experience, is that you just think you're in a radical, might even feel athletic stance because you're so close to the floor And usually when you see people close to the floor, they are in a nice, radical, athletic stance. But what exactly is the problem with the hinge in that hip? Well, that hinge in the hip is also limiting your range of rotation, especially again also towards the backside, which tend to be the more harder turns to do anyways. So it locks your hips in place, it also locks your spine in place, and turning that way is really, really hard. So instead what you want to do, you want to erase that hinge, and to get closer to the floor, nicely sink easy into the ground. Remember your back foot to be slightly pointed forward, which makes your knee turn inside, and then you can sink into a nice and stable stance and eliminate that hinge. And again, with the hinge, can't really turn here. If I'm upright, it's so easy and nice to turn towards my backside. Now same demonstration with the hinge in the hip. Can't really turn backside. Can't really turn, well, almost just fell now. Because if I'm hinged like this, I have to lean so heavy on the heel, it's hard to keep balance on the heel, and that's why I almost fell. Now again, you eliminate that hinge and just nicely sit down with your knee pointed forward. It makes it so much easier to turn towards your backside. So 2 out of the 3 mistakes that I've just shown you very much limit your amount of rotation that you can do, especially towards the backside, where learning anything turning towards the backside is way harder anyway, so you don't want to make that extra hard. And also surfing is mostly a rotational sport. So many things happen from rotation, counter rotation, winding up, all of that spring, and you don't want to lose that. And if you've just seen all of the 3 mistakes and you do none of them, probably means you're a very good surf skater already, and you can jump straight into more advanced techniques, skills and radical maneuvers. Alright, there you have it, the 3 most common surf skate stance mistakes. Now what I want you to do is grab your camera, go to the skate park, don't forget your surf skate, and film yourself surf skating. Little disclaimer here, if you haven't seen yourself surf skating, it can be a very humbling experience. In our heads skating, we all always look way more radical than we look in actual footage. But I want you to take an honest look at yourself and try and spot all the 3 mistakes. And if you have any of them in there, well, that's not a bad thing. Now at least you have something to work on. Now just one last quick word on skill progression and why filming yourself is so important. There's a skill progression ladder and it goes like this: unconscious incompetence. Basically, you're doing something wrong and you don't even know that you're doing it wrong. Well, that's easy. The next step is conscious incompetence. So you're doing something wrong, but you know that you're doing it wrong. And what gets you from that step to the other step? Filming yourself, seeing that you are doing mistakes. The next 2 steps in the full ladder will then be conscious competence. So you're doing it right, but you have to really concentrate on it. And then finally, unconscious competence. So it's just working naturally and you don't have to think about it, like walking. But to get you all the way there, we all start as unconscious incompetence, not knowing what we're doing wrong. And it might be something very big, like your front foot placement and you just started out, or it might be a tiny little thing like turning your hips when you're already doing radical maneuvers. But filming you will always help you get over that hump. Let me know in the comments what I might have missed, or what you might be struggling with that I didn't address. I'm always happy to try and help you. If this video helped you at all, maybe leave a like, comment, share it with a friend, and maybe just before you now run out and grab your surf skate, have one more coffee, watch another video of mine. I will see you back here for the next one. Cheers.